Welcome back to another episode of our humble podcast. I'm your host, GT, here with my co-host, Christina. How you doing today?
Well, I'm doing good.
Yeah, you look good.
Thanks, you too. I like the shirt.
Well, I'm just trying to step up to your bar. We saw you get ready, and I was gonna come in like shorts and a t-shirt, but thought maybe I'll set my game up a little bit.
I like the shirt. I'm glad I bought it.
I remember our first episode, T saw this and he was like, I love your shirt, but I hate it. Like, yeah, I kind of feel that too. It's a lot of colors. And if you know me, like, black is my color. So this is a stretch, but I think it looks pretty nice. Nice. Well, we are here with another interview. This is our second to last interview of this season.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
Episode 9, we I want to say we signed the contract. It's not like that formal. We're in the agreement with KPAO for these 10 episodes, and this is the end of our season. So we got two more episodes. This interview today is a really awesome one. I'm excited to get into this, and then we'll have one more that is yet to be announced, and we'll take a little break and come back with our season 2.
What's this, like anime, man? Is that
Yeah. Speaking of anime, what's your number 1 right now?
Oh, man.
Is that your icebreaker?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was not going to be my icebreaker, but now it is.
Shoot, man. I got to go with Demon Slayer right now, man.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
I've heard some good things about it. Never watched it.
You got to. They get you with the emotional punch, man. And yeah, that's my number 1. That's my number 1 right now. My daughter, she really loves it. So we probably wasn't supposed to, but we watched it together. It's just all this murder going on. But
yeah. How old is your daughter?
She is 9.
Okay.
So we've been watching for about a year. So I wasn't supposed to, but she's pretty mature. So but yeah, we get on that one. And, yeah.
My son Braxton is 7, and he's been talking about Attack on Titan. That anime is so good, but I don't want him to watch it.
Yeah.
Maybe in a couple years.
Right. Yeah. I peeped that one out too. Like I had about a week ago, or about 2 weeks ago, I went on a little mini vacation.
Okay.
So anime kind of consumed some of my vacation.
Yeah.
So
where'd you go?
Oh, just here, but I just was not working. Yep.
Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah, so that was kind of fun, and then I just got kind of wrapped up into a couple extra shows, which was fun. So
I did that earlier this summer. This summer's been really busy, really full for our family and life. And I had 3 days we went out of town with our church, and then 3 days I was at home. And I feel like it was so necessary to stop and rest and not really have anything pressing to do. Obviously you want to make sure the kids eat and get dressed and everything. But they're out of school, so you're not trying to run and take them to school or anything big like that. So it was really refreshing. How was your little staycation?
Oh man, it was nice. It was so nice. It was really hard going back to work.
Right.
That following week, I was just like, oh man, I was off balance. But
how long did it take you to get back into your rhythm?
Like a day and a half, maybe.
Okay.
Just
not too bad.
Because the children didn't have to do so much, I didn't have to do so much, so it's kind of perfect, right? But it took about a day and a half to get back on. So.
It's that first day back, you just want to cry all day.
That's why it took a day and a half.
Yeah.
How many boxes of tissue did you go through?
Right.
So I'm sorry, I jumped to the icebreaker before I even introduced you. So our guest today is the man, the myth, the legend. I wear that shirt, but it probably fits him even more than me.
This guy.
Bro, every time you was that is God.
I said this guy.
This guy. Dude. Every time I talk to somebody about you, it's the same thing. Man, Allen is so good at what he does. The way that you tell your stories, they're engaging and exciting, and people want to listen to you, man. And then the fact that most of the stuff that you do is off the cuff, you come in with an idea. anyway, sorry, we'll talk about that here in a second. So, Allen Stevenson is a local poet. I guess introduce yourself, man. I have you here, and I'm excited about having this conversation because I feel like what you did for me is what I try to do for a lot of other people, as far as like giving them a platform to spread their voice and their message, and really giving them the courage to step out into what they believe in. So without taking too much, like, who are you? What do you do? Who's Allen Stevenson?
Yeah. For those of who don't know, name's Allen Stevenson. How y'all doing out there?
Is that your stage name or your government?
Both. Both right now. I used to, back in the day, I used to go by strategist. I used to.
Oh, okay.
Way back when I first started, I was like, I got to make people think. So how do I do that, right?
Yeah.
So, I do poetry. I still got the hip hop bone in the system, right? I just don't use it as much.
When you do, it's dope.
Thank you. Appreciate that, man. So you mentioned the giving of the platform. That's one of the things that I used to do. Like we held that event called The Garden.
Yeah.
And, just kind of wanted to, like you said, give back. I wanted to use poetry and art as a way to raise funds for other nonprofits was the dream. So yeah, I did a little bit of that. It was fun. It was some good times, really, man. Fun. So, and now I just more or less, kind of a freelance journeyman when it comes to the art, I pop up here and there, say some words, you'll hit me up or somebody else will, and it's like, okay, cool, I'm on it. So it's been a ride, man. It's been a long ride, but it's been cool. And lately there's just been a lot of shifting. So I'm sure we'll talk about that part, but yeah, it's been a lot of good things. A lot of good things.
So I can't wait to get into it.
You're talking about ninjas. I feel like Allen is like the last episode you were talking about ninjas, katanas and all that. Oh, so I feel like Allen is kind of like that, where he just comes in, he strikes, and he's out, and then you don't see him for a bit, and then he just pops up again, and he's out, and I'm like,
whenever know. He's there, he's effective.
Yeah, but you never know when you're gonna see him, and he just comes out of nowhere, and then he strikes, and he's out, and you're like,
That is highly accurate, because that's basically what happened like lately. I was kind of off the scene really for I would say about 1.5 years, easily, maybe even
you
2.
Felt it?
Yeah, man, it was,
sometimes
life.
It just has to happen though.
Yeah, like my little life just changed, man, and man, okay. So I got to tell this part of the story.
Yeah.
So you guys did Live Loud, right, with Roger, and it was in that church in Blair.
Yeah.
Blair. Yeah, so some changes was happening and not a good way back then, right? So when I was with you guys, me and God, to be honest, were we were at odds, man. This has just been real. I was like, forget you, man. You suck. It's real talk. I was like, you suck. You were supposed to be there. You had your whole, why does good things happen to bad people, so on and so forth, right? Why would this happen but not this? Or why did you do this but not this? I would have done this if I had your power, right? Yeah. So I'm rocking with you guys, and your messages were so positive, right? And my message was hurt. Mm-hmm. And so I got through the poems that I did, but the lead up to that event, it was kind of I felt like a sore thumb, because you guys were so we love God, God's awesome. And I'm like, he's cool and all, but there was a huge but, right? So I do my pieces there, and I just knew something wasn't right, because even when you guys ended the show, normally freestyling is just, that's me, right? That's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Or one of them. And the way that show ended, I watched you guys do it, and I was like, it ended perfectly. The way you guys went in the cypher, it just ended perfectly, and I wasn't involved in it. And I kind of was like, how did that happen? Mm. But time passed, and I'm like, that's how it happened. I wasn't involved in that cipher because my heart wasn't in the right place. So it's just, and I went through that change, man, and then there was just a shift in like me and God made peace, if you will. So when that happened, I still was kind of just laying low, and then like about a few months ago, I got an invite to speak at a youth gang intervention meeting. And then after that, somebody else called and was like, can you speak at this church? Yeah, I can. And then I did my things, and I noticed that the content of my poems kind of shifted from God, I don't like you, to we're cool again. And now it's been more or less like, thank you for us being cool again. And when that shift happened, more opportunities to speak started happening again. You reached out to me out of nowhere.
Yeah. That's crazy.
You brought me on to, Good Vibes, and somebody else asked me to speak for something, and I got an invite for the 22nd of this month. So it's just kind of like the tone of my poetry changed, and then all of a sudden now people are asking to speak again. So I'm like, it has to be in the cards. You know what I mean? There's just something there's some things I just don't have control over, right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
This is good. I feel like this is like the start of like a therapy session, right? Or real deep.
That's so crazy that you said that though, because I remember that show, and I remember like I always get, like I said, I'm excited when I see you somewhere because it's like I never know when it's going to happen again. So you just like try to take it all in. And I mean, I've seen you perform a lot, over the years. And I remember that show, and I was just like, not like that was dark, but that was different. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So wow.
I remember, and there's been, like, we've had discussions about it. I think T even talked to you about it. Like, some of your posts, like, that's something interesting about social media is, like, people have a platform to be as authentic as they are, or as authentic as they want to be, because people are still fake on social media. But, like, your posts were not trying to hide anything. Like, you were true about where you were spiritually at the time. And I wonder what that process was. So I know, like, you and T had conversations. I don't know if you have anybody else, like, spiritually speaking in your life, but, like, what was it that brought you out of that season that you were in into, like, oh God, like, you are cool?
Oh man, it was like maybe about a year or two ago. Our basement flooded. This was one of the things that brought me out. Like, our basement flooded at the house we were in, and so we were homeless, So I had to rely on things and people, and I didn't know how the situation was going to get better. I just had to trust that it would.
Yeah.
At some point, I had to trust that it would.
Faith.
And yeah, so it was just like once the basement flooded, it was like just a super storm of things. The basement flooded. I got COVID. So that put me out of work.
That's still a thing?
Right. So, yeah, like the basement floods, this is, 2 years ago, matter of fact. So the basement floods, or the order was, I got sick at like the beginning of September, then the basement floods, so I'm out of work, the basement floods, and essentially my pay goes down, right? Because you get your disability benefits, whatever. So I don't have as much money coming in. I don't have a solid place to live, and even had, a little bit of vehicle issues, right? So that, for me, that was like my triangle, right? Stability, work, place, vehicle. And, all three of them were...
Those are essential.
Yeah, impacted.
Right.
So it was just, what do we do? Like, how do I get out of this? Excuse me. And so for me, it was just like, I ran out of money, I ran out of answers, but, people helped. And so, like, there was even this time when we were in like a hotel, and for me, I always said to myself, as long as the vehicle works, or if nothing happens to the vehicle, I'll be okay.
Be good, right?
And something happened. Like I ended up getting like a flat tire, and I ended up getting a flat tire at this hotel. We're in Iowa, and I'm like, man, I found the shop, but I had to drive to the shop on a flat tire.
Yeah.
And so, and the crazy part is I didn't have any money, and I get this $50 refund like the same day for something. I forgot what it was, but something gave me a $50 refund, and the tire cost $50.
Wow.
Right? So that was just one of those things where I was like, who else? Right? And then it was just, there was that, like, that was my big shift to be like, okay, I don't like you, but I know that you're present. Right? And then just kind of, that led me to kind of start reflecting, right? And I was like, man, look at all these other times where God was present, but, you know, I'm still here. You know, I was grateful, and that changed it. And artistically, I still had some bitter moments, man, after that, but it was just like, for how long? You know what I mean? Like, how long am I going to be bitter? What is this bitterness getting me? And it just kind of, it's almost like, you know, you hit a valley, you know, and it's like, but why? Why am I still spitting poems like this? And I was like, this can't be the way.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. So yeah, man, after going through that and then just kind of coming out on the other side and knowing why, it was like, yeah, I gotta give props to where it's due.
For sure.
So
I think it's crazy that God can use tragedy for his glory, right? That situation of your triangle being broken down.
Yeah.
And that's what ended up ultimately leading you back to God. It's just crazy. But there were seeds planted in your life along the way. Like the whole fact that you were questioning God is evident that he was doing a work in your life. And then something happened to make you question like the legitimacy or like even so many questions. But then you finally get to that point. Would you say that was like a rock bottom experience for you?
yeah.
Dude, it's crazy. Like that's a perfect place to build a new foundation. Once you hit rock bottom, like, there's nowhere else to go but up.
Right.
And you can go up this way, or you can go up this way, or you can go up this way. Like,
Yeah.
you know. But eventually, you have to get up, or you end up like. I almost kicked this dude yesterday. He was outside family fair, sleeping in the middle of the day. I'm like, maybe I'm being insensitive, but like, dude, get up. Like, you have a life to live. You're blessed to have life. Like, you need a job. It's really not that hard to get a job. But then I didn't do it because I was like, well, what can I really give him? And I'm also not that rude. But I'm just like, dude, like, get up. You have a life to live. And
For sure.
We hit low points in life. Get up. That's the testament of somebody that actually wins in life is no matter how many times you get knocked down, you get back up.
Very true.
Right?
Very
Unless
true.
you're boxing and you get KO'd. Nice. So let's take it back as I tend to get ahead of, you know, the foundation of the story. Where did poetry come into your life? Like, has that always been a part of it?
Yeah. So going way back, man, when I was probably like 7 or 8, right? My brothers and cousins were downstairs in my grandma's basement, and they were, you know, just messing around, doing whatever they thought was cool with the hip hop. And so I kind of picked it up, and they were like, "Flow, Allen, flow," and I'm like, all right, I can do this. And so what ends up happening is I skip around the basement and I'm like, my DJ's name is Mickey Mouse. And I'm skipping around the basement, just repeating that over and over.
Nice.
So there was that. And then it was like, you know, high school when I went to I was in the East Coast for a little bit, and I had the gift, but like when I went to the East Coast, that was kind of a major turning point, like with the freestyle, because I was rocking with my sister, and she, you know, was just kind of at her and her guy's house, and there was a dude there, and he was just, you know, we were listening to beats, and he was just spitting, and he was like, man, it ain't even that hard. All you got to do is just say what you're thinking. And so I'm like, huh. And so I start to just throw out all this randomness, man, and I don't even know how it's connecting or whatever, but he's like, just keep doing that. So, of course, you know, first freestyles are terrible, you know.
It's a muscle.
Yeah,
build that muscle up.
yeah, but it was just kind of weird just to kind of kick it in, and then from there it just kind of branched out. And one of the major turning points I definitely would say was when I was in like high school, right? And you get on your battle tip, you think that you can battle rap with some people. And I lost some. I was angry about losing, you know? I don't want to lose battles. But like I noticed I was rocking with these dudes and they were freestyling, and like it was one day in particular that was funny. They called us, basically we went to these guys' house, we're freestyling, and we're just getting our butts handed to us, man, like ridiculous. Like Kareem Raw was the guy's name, and just killing us, man. And after a while, I sat back and I'm like, this is funny. These guys are roasting us, but it's funny. But one of these guys was with us. He didn't take it so well.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was like, I'm going to come back. I'm going to get him. And I started to notice when I was writing rhymes, you know, they had like just this element of violence to them. And I got really good at it, you know, like I was really good at a violent theme. And then one day I remember sitting and thinking like, who am I talking to? Like, what is this? Like, who do I have this problem with? Like one of the lines was, if I ever have a problem with you, I'm going to do this, that, and the third. And I was like, but who? And at that point, I couldn't write like that no more. Like that point, I was like, I don't have a problem with anybody. I'm like one of the most peaceful people.
Right.
So from there on, it was just like, I can't write like that. And that's when I was like, well, how do I want to do this? And it was like, well, God's pretty cool. This was when I was like a teenager, you know what I mean? Like 17. I'm like, God's pretty cool. I would like to say something positive to help people. And that was the kickoff point for how I do it now, you know, just not having a problem and wanting to say something good.
So that all of that is just crazy. I feel like that's why hip hop gets like villainized as much as it does, is because it glorifies all that stuff, the violence and promiscuity and like all of that. But I think it's dope that you came to that conversion point where it's like, I'm saying this stuff, this isn't really what I believe, so I need to flip the script and start talking about something positive. That actually, I think I talked about in the last show, was like for me too. But I wasn't rapping the music, I was listening to like Lil Wayne and whatever the popular hip hop was.
For sure.
But then I really started listening to the lyrics of it, and it's like, well, I don't really believe this, so why am I listening to this? So kudos to you, man, for that.
For sure.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here, and I know I prepped you a little bit, but we got like 3 minutes left. Why don't you spit some bars on how people can contact or connect with you in what you do? Yeah, put some perimeters on it.
I'm gonna have you freestyle, and then be like, but you need to cover this and this and this.
Because he's talented and he can do it.
Oh man. As far as contacts, I just on Facebook is just Allen Stevenson. I was thinking of launching a whole social media thing, but I was like, do I really want to? I'll figure that out, right?
AllenStevenson.com.
Something.
That's a bar right there.
But yeah, just, you know, Allen Stevenson, you know, that's the main way, you know, to reach me. Yeah, so there's that.
Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook, yeah.
Instagram?
No, I don't have one. Or it's kind of funny, I do have one, but I don't access it. So I don't know, maybe my wife clicked the link or I clicked the link or something. But I have a page out there, and that was the thing. I'm like, do I get on Instagram to connect with people? I'm like, I don't want to because it's one more thing to manage. But, I was thinking like, if I do it, then I just have to, be conscious because, there's the whole, disconnection that occurs with social media, right? I saw you post something recently.
I know, that's the other day.
But yeah, so not to steal your thunder.
We're sharing thunder. It's fine.
But yeah, so right now, social media wise, it's just Allen Stevenson. I show up, my picture of the belts from bowling show up there, so that's me. So
2 minutes.
2 minutes, got it. Quick piece of a poem. All right, here we go. The road to forgiveness. I don't know. Let me see. Yeah. The road to forgiveness is laced with Omaha potholes, and there is no way to dodge them no matter which way your car aims. Soldiers in sermons told me that this drive wouldn't be easy, but they didn't tell me it would be this hard. I remember calling God and hanging up in his face when he gave me the answer that I didn't want. How? How am I supposed to turn the other cheek when they already stabbed them both? I just want to rest. Whatever I have consumed is eating away at my system. So I pulled over and got that weird gas station key. And as I sit in the bathroom stall, memories converge from the graffiti on the wall. X was here. Yeah, we were. And the idea or the assumption was that you would always be there, and I never wanted to put an X by your name. For a good time, call these 10 digits. The area code is 3 of the infinity stones. The prefix and the suffix are the others. Is snapping really worth hearing your voice again? But I have to press onward. And I'll stop there.
That's dope.
So,
I love it. Leave them on a cliffhanger. We'll come back with the next episode for the rest of. No, I'm just kidding.
So yeah, nice. That's my piece. That's part of my piece that I'm doing called The Road to Forgiveness.
Dope.
And it goes into this whole awesome thing. So I take people on the drive
when we come back. Awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Our Humble Podcast. It's been our first part of our interview with Allen Stevenson. For those listening on the podcast, it's just going to be like just a little bleep. And then we'll be right back into the second part of the interview. Those watching on TV, make sure you tune in next week. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is Our Humble Podcast, and we'll see you again. Welcome back to another episode of Our Humble Podcast. This is your host, GT. I was working on the schedule for the podcast episodes today, and I realized originally I had them listed as 1 through 20, but technically they're 1 through 10, 1.1 and 1.2, and to 10.2, right? Anyway, so this is episode 9.2. Or episode 9 for those listening to just the podcast. It's because we had a TV show, and the TV show only airs half of the interview every week. So make sure you check out the podcast. Anyway, I'm your host, GT. This is my co-host, Christina.
And this is our guest, gem dropping, bar spitting, down to earth, creative.
Oh, that's too much.
Too much?
No, you're good. You're good.
Too much. Allen Stevenson.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Happy to be here for sure.
Nice.
Nice intro.
It's true. I mean, all that she said is true.
Appreciate that.
The man, the myth, the legend. So, Allen, we kind of talked a little bit about the garden, but I've always wondered, what was your inspiration to start it? Why did you do it? What did you want to accomplish with it? I think you said you wanted to try to raise funds for nonprofits.
Yeah, man. The inspiration, it was just the idea, man, of just helping people, right? Yeah, that was always the dream. It was just, how can we make somebody else's life better?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm pretty good at poetry, right? And excuse me. There was you go to your verbal gumbos and your events, and I was like, man, what if we hosted a poetry event where people can come through, share their words, and then we take some of the proceeds and give it to an organization was my thing because I was just like, at the time, I had the servant's heart. I still have it, but now it's like, I understand a little bit more that servants need the ability to serve, right? Like you
Yeah.
got to have the money, balance time, all that, right? But at the time, it was just solely, I'm going to serve. So it was like, okay, I'm going to host these events. I'm going to invite people. If they give a donation, we'll take whatever money we raise and we'll just give it to an organization out here doing something good. And so that was the inspiration, man. And it was it was good. It was good. The garden was good. And it allowed certain people to just kind of have a place to say stuff. And we started in churches, and then I really liked the idea of like the Thompson Alumni Center.
Yeah.
So
It's a great building.
yeah, it's a nice building and nice setup and all of that. So we hosted a couple there. The intent was just honestly to go churches, organizations, allow, whichever place let us come in and do that. So yeah, that was it, man. But the ultimate theme was just helping somebody and like trying to improve the whole community, man. Because we did the garden, but we also did this one. Like my apex was balling and serve, man.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, that was like
Yeah.
the height of our power. So, but yeah, man, I just was like, man, we could take sports and then have these vendors come in or these community organizations. Let's basically set up an event and just bring all of the people to the organizations to let people know what's going on. And so that was a good idea. It was a really good idea.
Why don't you do that stuff now?
I have people and children and lots of them.
For sure.
No, but yeah, that's real talk, man. Like, I think, like, yeah, when life started to change for me, honestly, I did start having more children, and it was just like, man, I want to do that,
Yeah.
but then it was like, there's a lot that goes into it.
For sure.
You gotta, any organization, promotion is like a huge chunk of your budget. So, and if you're going to promote, you either have to be out there doing it yourself or you have to hire, right? And get as many people on the ground as possible, with your flyers. You got to print that, right? Like that money, time. And my children started increasing. Time was like, I just can't do it. So,
Priorities.
yeah,
How
I
many
feel
kids do
like
you have?
six. So, yeah, once I started having more of them, it was just like, man, I appreciate the
We
gardens and
gotta
such,
catch up, babe.
No. We're talking about time and balance with 5. Like, what?
Sure. Yeah, dude, it's crazy how many similarities I see to the stuff we were talking about in my own life.
Yeah.
You talk about being a servant. So we do Good Vibes as a free family-friendly event. We don't charge for it. We also don't pay for the space that we use. But in the same sense, there's not anything coming in for the time that we spend organizing it, performing it, promoting it. And then sometimes, I'll put some ads together and I'm using money out of my pocket to put these ads to hopefully get people to come out. And it's like, we have a household and children to take care of and other things that we like to do. Like one of our favorite things to do is to travel, and we can't do that if we're spending all our money on Facebook ads.
This is true. This is true. Very true.
To not get anything in return, right?
Yeah.
So you can only serve so much, and it's really interesting that this conversation is coming back around because we just had a similar conversation in the One Kingdom chat.
Yeah, man.
Like servants need to be served also.
Exactly. And that's the thing, man. I've always admired you guys, right? Like, 'cause you
Yeah.
have the servant's heart. And it's good. It's good. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just you guys, you get to pick where that energy goes as well. You know what I'm saying? So like for you guys to do the serving, at some point somebody has to match you, right? Or you got to make more money in your own personal life, one or the other, because
both.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going for.
Or both,
Let's get
right?
both of those.
Exactly. So it's just, yeah, man. Like I definitely, I know you guys are going to essentially crack that code. You know, it's just getting there and chiseling at it.
Yeah,
it's hard.
The
It's
hard
very
part
hard.
is being consistent when you see very little results.
Yeah,
We still do the thing because you believe in what you're trying to do and hope that eventually people catch on and hop on board. So yeah, I totally feel that.
and the thing about like with what you guys do, it's the value of what you do to that singular individual that comes. You might do a show, spend $200 on Facebook ads. One person might come to that show, but you will heavily influence that one person.
Right.
So that's the cool thing about what you guys do as the servants is you get to have a one-on-one interaction and have a huge impact on their life. And that doesn't translate monetarily, you know?
Right.
So it's like
intangible.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a huge balance of these intangible instances are awesome, but I need $20 for food.
I need to get my tire patched.
So it's you guys are doing a great thing, you know. So if you don't need my advice, right? I'm not here for that part, but just keep going, you know. Just keep
I feel
going.
like it happens every single time too. Like every time when you're like, I think I'm done. I'm like, but why did you start? You know what I mean? There's always been a moment in every single show where I'm like, that was it. You know, that was it. Like when you came and your son, like it's just like those moments are Ebony and her daughter this past show. It's like, especially when it involves like the youth, I'm like, that's it. You know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. And there's times, you know, where I'm like, I don't want to go. Like, please don't make me go. Like, I don't want to go. But then I get there and it's like, that was why, you know. I like the name of your I don't think I was around when the garden was there, but I'm like a big fan of like the ideation of like seeds and planting. I'm a terrible gardener. Tried it one time. Things grew, but
You're a great gardener.
I didn't know about spacing and all of that stuff, so I ended up with like 75 cucumbers and like tomatoes to winter, you know. And so, but I love the idea of gardens and the seeds and
that was the whole,
especially community gardens. Love them.
For sure. That was the whole intent, you know, artistically when my guy used to design my flyers and stuff, it was, you know, seeds being planted in places and so on. So
I think that what you're doing with the garden is really significant. And if you want to bring that back, like I would love to facilitate conversation what that can look like. I think to a certain extent, what Roger's doing with Live Loud now and touring to different churches in Omaha is kind of similar to what you're doing with the garden, except Roger's not charging for his shows, right? We can charge a little at the door, have the churches partner with us and help with promoting. We're doing this as a service for your congregation. Like we'll bring the tech and, you know, have people running sound and stuff. And like, we just want to come and fill people, feed people, but give us like $5 so we can donate to a charity and maybe take like 10% off of it or something.
Right.
So we can feed our stats.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I think that'd be dope, man. I would love to see something like that. And if I can be a part of it, like for sure.
Yeah, man, I'll give you our blueprints, if you will, like whatever I did in the past, you know, some things that worked, some things that didn't, and yeah, for sure. I got you.
So what are you up to these days? You said that you just recently got back into performing. You're working, taking care of kids.
Yeah. I'm working on the album finally, right?
The album.
Yeah, man. It's coming on
Make
about.
sure you hit up this dude GT Dine for a feature.
I should.
That's a bar.
I should. Oh my God. Real talk, like I was one.
Dang.
I was like, man, like I would love to on that front, man.
Do you have a title?
Experience points. Yep.
Okay, experience points.
Experience points, man. The theme is more.
Put the Chico remix on there.
I see. I didn't even think about that, but that's cold though. We'll talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, experience points is the album title, man. It's kind of like, you know, you like video games themes is kind of gonna be woven into it.
Nice.
Like when Sonic loses his rings, you know, that sound effect.
Nice.
But it's yeah, man, just working on that. And then my other top secret project, I got this idea that I'm kind of building called cardiomyopathy. And so what ended up happening, man, it's kind of the thing that we talked about where my relationship with God was kind of just rocky. So just long story way short, I built this character, which is pretty much based on me. Couple little breaks here and there, but it's like a 5-poem mini movie is what it's gonna be.
Interesting.
So my guy essentially catches heart disease because of his scorn or his anger with God, dies. The person gets to shocking back to life, and hopefully I can be like the person laying on the table and person giving the paddles.
Smoothie magic.
Takes some medicine, gets a little better, but goes through a detox. So like the way that poem is structured, it is so crazy because it like takes the symptoms of detox and the guy goes through it. So just one of my favorite lines of that piece is like, you've seen that movie A Beautiful Mind, right? Russell Crowe. Well, it's like an older joint, but
That's long.
it's older.
Never seen it.
But
every time someone asks you about older music or older movies, I already know you're gonna be like, no.
but like the character or me, like the person says, I reach for the hand of a little girl, but Russell Crowe reaches back, pats me on the back, and tells me I have a beautiful mind. And so it's like in that movie, the girl, spoiler alert for whoever's watching, but the girl that he sees is not really there.
Oh, okay.
So that's and one of the symptoms of detoxing is you could experience hallucinations. So it's like I just have that woven into that, and then of course the ending where he detoxes and then gets better. So for those out there listening, you just got the breakdown of sorts of the mini movie. So, but yeah, I got it all like laced up, and it's one of those things. That was another thing where I was like, one of my tells to know that the Spirit of God moves is when I come up with an idea, and then like once I start writing, it just flows out immediately. And I'm like, I've never written 5 poems in such a short time that have worked together in my life. I've never done it. So it was like the whole series came together in about 3 days, maybe 4 at the most. Because I started writing like emergency room, and it was just like, yep. And then clinical trials, bam. And I was like, dang, that is cold. And like when I was writing it, I'm like, dang, like some of these lines, I'm like, this is crazy. And, detox really was just like, all right, I got the idea. I know I looked up some symptoms, and then it was just like, I'm looking at the page like, what is? And then I called up or like hit one of my friends up on Facebook because she's a doctor. And so, because I had the wrong title for the series, but I just was like, asked her a couple medical questions, and that's how I came up with cardiomyopathy, because essentially it's basically just when the heart doesn't work as good as it should. And so there's a term like toxubocardiomyopathy, and that's literally a person suffering from a broken heart.
Oh, wow.
So I was just like, I don't know if I can work in the first part.
Right.
Because I might lose people with the first part. I mean, but I was like, and then I just kind of broke it down a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, that's the way. So.
That's deep, man.
Yeah.
Could you do one of the tracks is top super?
I can't do one of those.
No.
Yeah, I don't have any of it memorized yet, but like real talk, man, like with the first piece, it's called Emergency Room, and the guy, like, he starts to essentially spit the poem, and his life force, if you will, starts to fade as he goes through the poem. So he's really mad, and then it's just like he's starting to fade out, you know, and it's almost like I'm going to have him start to suffer from the disease as he spits the poem. So by the end of it, it's like he's fading, you know, and it's crazy. But I don't have it memorized yet, otherwise I'd hit you with it. But like the reason why that poem is so like powerful for me is like there was a situation, the one situation where truth, like I lost faith in God was like there was a dude who murdered his family, and I really like that shook me to the core, because it's always the kids, you know, that I find that really gets me, because, you know, in my mad season I was like, dude, where were you at when that was going on, right? And so like I had to do a little bit of research to make sure that I had certain pieces right. And like I honestly, I can't even, like, the research for that was hard because I had to read the story, and every time I read the story I hate the story, and it made me remember how mad I was. So, but I was able to get through it, and I still kept my bearings, but it's just some of that is laced in there. So one of the lines that I do remember, because I had to research to write it, was the old song says, he's got the whole world in his hands, but I guess that's why you drop these other people. So it's like that is just like the thing, like the guy gets even more angry as he progresses through it because he's so mad that God didn't do what he wanted.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's gonna be dope though.
Do you have a question?
I was just saying, like, even like the title of it, like cardiomyopathy, like you would never think it's gonna be like what you're describing. You know what I mean? It's so unique. And as a Grey's Anatomy like certified doctor myself, I mean, and I did take some like prereqs for nursing. But anyways, like when you said that, I was like, what in the world is he talking about, cardiomyopathy? But like, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be so like fun, and the idea is to shoot like these simple videos, like not doing too much, but just kind of these simple visuals to kind of loop it all together. So, yeah.
When can we expect this project to
Man,
be?
it's gonna be a while, honestly, but I think that because the writing part is done, I just think is the shooting is gonna take maybe like probably next year to be on the safe side. But the other poetry album that I'm working on, I'm hoping to get it done by the end of this year is my goal. Nice. So I'm 4 tracks in. My goal was to get to 10. It's a lofty one, but it's coming though. So it's coming.
Allen, just kind of on what you were just talking about, one of the questions that we want to get at is, what are you learning this season, right? Going back to the time when you were angry at God because he didn't show up the way that you expected him to, I feel like a lot of people can relate to that experience in their life. What is it that you found when asking those questions that brought you back into your relationship with God?
Oh, man, that's a good question.
Nice.
What I found was that God is going to do a few things. One, he's either going to tell you what you were asking for. He's not going to tell you, and then from there, you just got to deal with it. That's the main piece. Like, I basically was like, hey, where you at, fam? And this moment is like one moment in my life that shifted me. Like, there was a murder of a child, and I was like, just pissed, man, just furious. And I remember just looking out this window and having this debate with God, and he was like, man, just shut up. I am playing chess while you're playing checkers. Catch up. Literally, that's what I heard. Like, it felt like it came from the sky and just crushed my ear, man. Like, I was like, when you leave, I'm gonna be talking again. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that happened. And then as far as like the season, man, like the thing that got me out was just, yeah, again, like finding out that sometimes he's not going to tell you the answer because truthfully, you don't have the right or the privilege to the information. That was, I still struggle with that truthfully, but I've made peace with it. But sometimes I'll be like, that don't make sense, fam. but I've learned to deal with it not making sense sometimes, right? And there has been a couple of times, like, you know, you just see like all this craziness in the world. And it was kind of foretold, right? Like, you know, people can pick and choose what they want to do, what they don't want to do with the Bible. But like some things are just like, you can't ignore it. With more knowledge comes more sorrow. People are as smart as they've ever been, but look at the condition of the world, you know? So that just like little joints like that stick with me. So the thing that I got out of it, man, was just like making peace with God not giving me the answer. Because sometimes he's been like, that's on me, fam. Like, I have to make this decision. Like, I sit here and I think to myself, like, I have to make decisions about, you know, what I'm gonna wear or where I'm gonna work or how I'm gonna get money. He has to make decisions about who lives or dies, what planet gets created and which one didn't, you know? So which star blows up and which one doesn't. So
just so out of our brain capacity to even comprehend.
Right. So if I'm not in charge of those decisions, if someone suffers, if in one of my, you know, moments was Katrina, apparently he determined that the levee had to break. But why? It's not you, fam. Here I am. You know what I'm saying? Like that's been the peace, because before anger, it was, why didn't you fix the levee? You could have held that together. You could have pulled the water back. But I watched this other documentary and part of it was human arrogance.
Bro, I was just about to say, like, the fact that like we're holding back this dam full of water and we expect nature to just follow our command.
Yeah.
That is pretty arrogant.
So yeah, just that's the main thing. Just getting the peace with not having the control. That's what I got, man. That's the huge piece.
It's a good word.
So
like the equivalent of like, because I said so.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Just like hearing it, like you talking about this the whole time, I'm like, man, if people are ever like, how is he the father of all? Like, do you hear this? Like, because I said so. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm still going to talk when you walk away. Like, you know, it's all there. It's like.
That's great. Awesome. Well, Allen, man, I wish we had more time to like just learn more about you. We definitely will have to have you back in another episode in the future. If you could, for the people who missed the first part of the episode, let the audience know how they can connect with you.
Yeah, for sure, man.
He prefers in person.
Right, definitely. You know, if I see y'all,
they can catch you in person.
Right, let's mix it up. So Facebook is the social media one, just Allen Stevenson, the one with the belts. That's me. But yeah, just in person is better. It's cooler, you know. I'll be at Sozo Coffee House on the 22nd of July.
Let's go.
Right.
Yeah.
I know you guys do your things there. So,
yes, sir.
So I'll be there spitting some poetry, big event planned for some people. And I'll just be around. Like, I know I'll probably will start popping up more at like the Red Velvet and open mics around the city again, just to test the goods.
Go to Good Vibes. Go to Verbal Gumbo.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'll be around.
You can start posting on your social media when you're going to be somewhere, so that, you know, those of us that look forward to it can stalk you.
I am. I'm going to start being more active with that part, you know.
It's hard.
Yeah.
You don't want to get tied to it, so I think.
Yeah. And plus, I wasn't the best at promoting Live Loud. I will say I should have been more engaging But yeah, I was on sort of a social media break at the time, so it was just kind of.
I'm gonna just to like hammer in that point, and then we have to get out of here. But something I'm learning this season is that no matter how like disconnected or detached I want to be from social media, like people look to social media to find ways to connect with us, and if we're not there, then they don't have the opportunity to connect. So I need to start sharing good vibes. I need to start sharing about our merch. I need to share my music, even though I don't want to. That's what people will expect. And not that I want to live up to other people's expectations, but I definitely want to provide people with the information, the resources that they need.
For sure.
It's a bar for y'all. Thanks for tuning in to our humble podcast. Allen, thank you again, man.
For sure.
Thank you for being here. And we look forward to seeing you around, bro.
Oh, most def. Most def.